Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to view this resource. As we prepare a financial plan for this upcoming academic year, we will be collecting an array of data from a variety of individuals. This includes supervisors, directors, and administrators. We are looking forward to the work session that we have scheduled, but before we get there are a few things we would like to highlight now to help each one of you be more prepared for what is to come. We will be discussing historical data, accuracy, and major budget areas. We will also explore internal climate issues and district bargaining. Before this video is complete, you will have clear guidelines on how to prepare for our future work session, including how to submit information and a definitive timeline. Historical data. What is it and why does it matter to us? Historical data can be thought of as any information that we use to forecast budgetary documents. What makes this data historical is that it is past data or from previous years. In order to develop a budget for an upcoming year, we heavily rely on historical data to estimate or forecast our fiscal plans. Because of this, it is extremely important that the historical data used is as accurate as possible. This also means that it is important to document our current year's information accurately, as it will one day be historical data. The more accurate our historical data is, the more accurate our forecast can be. With correct data, we can effectively identify trends and patterns. We can also be better prepared for future outcomes. In addition to accuracy, it is important to collect data from as many sources as possible. The more sources of data we have, the easier it will be to determine if our data and our forecast are reliable. If we have multiple sources of data and they each display the same or extremely similar information, then the data is more likely to be accurate. This means we can be confident in relying on our data for developing forecast. As we develop a budget forecast and analyze historical data, we will come across different areas that have to be accommodated. Some of these areas include transportation, food services, health services, and educational services. As we prepare to engage in collective bargaining, we will want to pay close attention, to any areas that may come up during these meetings. This may include salaries and educational resources. However, as we prepare for the upcoming academic year, we are able to delegate our attention to areas based on the historical data. For example, if our transportation budget from the previous year worked well and we have few areas of concern compared to previous years, then we may not need to focus on that area as much. If we have an area of concern that appears in our data, then that would be an area that should be highlighted for greater attention. Given the current situation regarding the influx of immigrants to the state of Illinois and the increase of ESL learners, our historical data would suggest that we focus our attention on preparing for this shift. This means our attention will need to focus on language resources for in and outside of the classroom. Our budget may need to accommodate the increasing need of translational tools and multilingual communication between school and home. The upcoming collective bargaining session may have created extra tension and has possibly stirred a lot of different emotions among staff and parents. It is imperative that we identify the current internal climate so we know ahead of time what matters most to our community. If we know how our community feels, then we can play to their emotions. Our suggestions can be geared towards addressing those concerns when we have a better idea of what those concerns actually are. Because of how the collective bargaining process works, we need to be extremely prepared, which means we need to know what we will be discussing and have all points that we wish to make be heavily researched, supported, and clear. The more prepared we are, the more confident we and our community can be in the final decisions made at the end of this process. Our collective bargaining is tentatively scheduled for mid-December. All information for the financial plan is to be submitted using only your work emails to the designated coordinator. You will be provided with the appropriate contact information as well as additional submission details via email within the next 48 hours. You will have 6 weeks to research, gather, and prepare the necessary documentation. Documentation can be in either PDF or Microsoft Word documents. We will accept Microsoft Excel spreadsheets where applicable. Once the information has been received, our coordinator will have 3 weeks to consolidate it. This will allow plenty of time to schedule the work session, as well as allow us to be prepared for our upcoming collective bargaining meetings. I know this was a lot of information. As I mentioned before, you will receive communication to your emails with contact information for your data submission. This email will include a snapshot of what we discussed in this video as well. It will also include directions for anyone who may have questions or concerns regarding today's topics. I want to thank you again for your time. You are each appreciated members who play an important role in our educational community. We want your impact to continue, and the best way to do that is by creating room for your input. I look forward to continuing our partnership. Together, we will format an effective budget forecast and be well prepared for what is to come.